Hello everyone, I am Geneva Gallego. I am the discussant for the topic on the project development cycle. We all know that every project from conception to completion passes through various phases of a life cycle synonym to life cycle of living beings. There is no universal consensus on the number of phases in a project cycle, and an understanding of the life cycle is important to successful completion of the project as it facilitates to understand the logical sequence of events in the continuum of progress from start to finish. Typical project consists of 4 phases: conceptualization, planning, execution, and termination. Each phase is marked by one or more deliverables such as concept note, feasibility report, implementation plan, HRD plan, resource allocation plan, and evaluation reports, and others. Now let's come to the first phase, the conceptualization phase. Conception phase is starting with the seed of an idea. It covers identification of the product or service, pre-feasibility, feasibility studies, and appraisal and approval. The project idea is conceptualized with initial considerations of all the possible alternatives for achieving the project objectives. As the idea becomes established, a proposal is developed setting out rationale, method, estimated cost, benefits, and other details for appraisal of the stakeholders. After reaching a broad consensus on the proposal of the feasibility dimensions are analyzed in detail. The next is planning phase. In this phase, the project structure is planned based on project appraisal and approvals. Detailed plans for activity, finance, and resources are developed and integrated to the quality parameters. In the process, major tasks need to be performed in this phase are identification of activities and their sequencing, time frame for execution, estimation and budgeting, staffing. A detailed project report or DPR specifying various aspects of the project is finalized to facilitate execution in this phase. Let's go to the execution phase. This phase of the project witnesses the concentrated activity where the plans are put into operation. Each activity is monitored, controlled, and coordinated to achieve project objectives. Important activities in this phase are communicating with stakeholders. Next is reviewing progress, monitoring cost and time, controlling quality, and lastly, managing changes. Now is the termination phase. This phase marks the completion of the project wherein the agreed deliverables are installed and project is put into operation with arrangement for follow-up and evaluation. Let's proceed to the life cycle path. The life cycle of a project from start to completion follows either a S-shaped path or a J-shaped path. In S-shaped path, the progress is slow at the starting and terminal phase and is fast in the implementation phase. For example, implementation of watershed project. At the beginning, detailed sectoral planning and coordination among various implementing agencies or others makes progress slow, and similarly towards termination. Creating institutional arrangement for transfer and maintenance of assets to the stakeholders progresses slowly. In J-type cycle path, the progress in beginning is slow, and as the time moves on, the progress of the project improves at fast rate. Example, in a developing an energy plantation, in this the land preparation progresses slowly, and as soon as the land and seedling or transplantation is undertaken. Project development stages. There are 5 phases of project management. As projects become more complex, it's important to structure and define the project elements throughout the entire life cycle to avoid getting lost in the hustle and bustle. One way to organize a project is to sort it into the 5 phases of project initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and closure. Phase 1. Project Initiation. At the project initiation phase, a project formally starts and gets a name. The project manager defines it at a broad level. Project sponsors and other important stakeholders make a due diligence and decide whether or not to commit to a project. Depending on the nature of the project, stakeholders conduct a feasibility study. For an IT project, the project team performs requirement gathering and analysis in this phase. In most industries, such as in the construction industry, it is the phase where the team completes a project charter. Phase 2. Project Planning. At the planning phase, the project team collates and combines individual plans for cost, scope, duration, quality communication, risk, and resources to create a comprehensive project plan. Some of the important activities that mark this phase are creating the work breakdown structure, schedule, milestone charts, Gantt charts, and resource estimates and allotment. Teams also identify modes of communication with stakeholders based on milestones, deadlines, and important deliveries. The project team allocates time to build a plan for managing identified and unidentified risks, as this may affect aspects of the project later on. Risk management planning includes risk identification and analysis, risk mitigation approaches, and risk-responsible planning. For Phase 3, Project Execution. At the project execution phase, the team works on and completes the project deliverable according to the project plan. During this phase, the project manager and other stakeholders capture metrics through status meetings, project status updates, workload reports, and performance reports. This critical phase provides the project team and all involved a clearer indication if the project will succeed or fail. For the fourth phase, Project Monitoring and Control. The project monitoring and control phase occurs at the same time as the execution phase. This phase focuses on measuring project performance and progression in accordance to the project plan. Scope verification and control occurs to check and monitor for scope creep, and change of control occurs to track and manage changes to project requirement. The project manager performs calculation of key performance indicators for cost and time to measure the degree of variation, if any, and in which case the team determines the corrective measures and course of action to keep the project on track. To prevent project failure, consider why projects are likely to fail and the ways to prevent failure. Phase 5. Project Closure. At the closure phase, the project team and stakeholders formally closes the project. This phase includes performing a series of important tasks such as delivering the product, freeing up resources, rewarding team members, and formally ending the employment or services of contractors. The project manager calls a post-mortem meeting to evaluate what went well in the project and what did not for lessons learned. The project team can also go through a punch list to make sure they complete all deliverables, however minor. At this time, the PM prepares the final budget report and project report. The whole project team will also finalize, organize, and store all project documentation. For the nature of the project management. A project is typically defined as a set of interrelated activities having a specific beginning and ending, and leading to a specific objective. Probably the most important concept in this definition is that a project is intended as a temporary endeavor, unlike ongoing, steady-state operations. Secondary is the uniqueness of the output. To ensure that the project is temporary, it is necessary to define the ending explicitly. The outputs of the project or deliverables may be tangible, like a new heating system, or intangible, like a retrained work group. but in either case should be defined in measurable terms, like completed installation or documented level of expertise. While the reason for undertaking the project may have been to reduce utility cost by 10% or to increase productivity by 20%, achieving such goals may be outside the scope of the project. Each project requires a specific definition of its goals. In a training project example, the project manager may be given responsibility for identifying and implementing a training system that will enhance productivity by 15%. In this case, the project is not complete until the 15% goal is reached. If the initial training program enhances productivity by only 12%, the project manager is obligated to provide additional training, or the project may be terminated as a failure. Noted that a 12% increase in productivity was something to celebrate but did not meet the target. Work breakdown structure hurdle rate of acceptability. If instead the project is to implement a previously identified training program known to achieve excellent results, then the project is finished when the trainees achieve the test scores known to correlate with a specified level of improvement in productivity. At this point, the project manager has achieved the deliverable as measured in specific terms. The project is a success. Whether or not the desired improvement in productivity follows what is outside the scope of the project, obviously, it behooves the project manager to have a well-defined scope for the project. The more nebulous the assignment, the more the project is subject to scope creep, or the tendency for the project to acquire additional duties. A statement of work document or charter outlining the relevant specification of deliverables helps to keep a project clearly defined. Once the work is completely specified, the requisite activities can be identified and assigned. The work breakdown structure, or WBS, is one of the tools used by the project managers to ensure that all activities have been included in planning. By numbering the project 1.0, the implication is that this is the first project for the company. Subsequent projects would be numbered sequentially. In the illustrated example, the deliverables are specified on the second layer of the WBS, along with an overhead allocation for the project management team. Under each deliverable is an increasingly specified description of the activities involved in achieving the deliverable. Alternatively, the second line may be functional headings like finance, marketing, operations, or time periods like example January, February, March. The objective of the WBS is to clarify that all activities have been addressed and assigned. While the definition of a project also tends to include the word unique, this may be true only in a narrowly defined sense. A company that builds a new branch location or first project has a template for the construction of a second branch location or second project. In the marketing field, subsequent product rollouts can learn from the initial product introduction. To the extent that the project is repetitive, the planning process, WBS, and cost estimates can provide a valuable templates for the future projects. That would be all for my topic. Thank you, everyone. God bless and stay safe.